Hey, welcome to the channel. I'm a guy named Fuzz. This is the Defeat the Monster Within channel. This is going to be the first video, so it's going to be a little rough around the edges. I don't want to spend too much time on the pleasantries and the introductions, so we'll just jump right in here, okay? What is the monster? Now, the monster is something I feel very close with. I've spent a lot of time digging into this, but I realize that you probably haven't, and this is probably all new to you. So, basically, in essence, the monster is really, it's just an idea, okay? But it's an idea that has been around for thousands of years. We can go back through all kinds of different cultures, different people, different places in the world, and all sorts of, like, no matter the culture or the people or the language, it all comes back to this same fundamental idea of I guess sort of good and evil, right? So it's not like it's this new concept that's just coming out. It's something that people have been considering and thinking about for thousands of years, right? And a lot of people or a lot of cultures have myth about this idea of good and evil. They have stories of the gods and, you know, all these different elaborate ideas. And it's because the monster is very deeply woven into the fabric of what exists, okay? So the best way I could probably describe for you to understand in an easy way what the monster is the idea of the angel and the devil on someone's shoulder, okay? So this idea, you can go through, you know, years and years back to cartoons and shit back when we were little kids of the person is in this inner struggle, and then poof, the devil pops up on one shoulder and the angel pops up on the other shoulder, and they're both trying to sway the person's opinion or the person's actions or behavior in a certain direction. Okay? So, this is a very basic, rudimentary understanding of what the monster is. And I mean, yeah, we all have this idea of the devil, right? And I don't like to refer to it as the devil because I feel like it skews the perception into this idea of, you know, God and the devil and this religious abstract bullshit, okay? So religion, first off, before we go any deeper here, I'm going to say a bunch of shit that's going to piss you off probably. I'm going to say a bunch of things that go very much against the status quo of what we've been taught our whole lives, and so just bear with me if I say something that offends you too fucking bad. I don't really care, because this is truth, this is shit you need to know, and this is stuff that's going to change your life. So you need to just get on board and just follow through with me till the end, and this will start to make more sense, okay? So, the angel versus the devil. So we have this idea that it's like you, right? You here. And then on outside of yourself, there's these other things, right? We have the angel, or, you know, God, and then we have the devil, right? Or the monster, was I like to call it. So this idea is bullshit, okay? It's false. This is a false idea perpetuated by the monster to try to fuck up your head and fuck up the way you think at a fundamental level. So what's really going on is there's you, right? But inside of you, you have this polarity and this duality of the different parts of you, just like a yin-yang, right? So we have the yin-yang, and on one side is the positive, one side is the negative, okay? But let's dig a little deeper into that idea, okay? So there's the story of the two wolves. Now, I don't know if you've heard this story before. It's pretty common. I'll probably butcher it right now, but basically the story goes is there's, you know, the young boy talking to the wise man, and the wise man is telling the boy how there's these two wolves that live inside everybody, right? And every person has these two wolves inside of them. One wolf is like the good wolf, right? He represents peace and love and benevolence, you know, and all these good qualities. And then the bad wolf, he represents all the bad qualities, greed and anger and, you know, distrust and all this other different shit, right? And so after the wise man describes these two different wolves living inside of every person they're at war with each other, right? And they're always constantly at battle. And the boy says, well, which one of these wolves wins? And the wise man says, the one that you feed. Okay, this is a very important concept, because the monster, the only way that it can really thrive is to be fed, right? So that is the monster's goal is to consume everything it possibly can. That's just its nature. It's not like it's doing something evil. That's just what the source of that energy is doing. It's trying to consume. It's the same thing what the force of good is doing, trying to consume. It's just the nature of how shit works. Okay? So I realize at this point things might sound like this is all some crazy abstract idea, and in a way it kind of is. And it's something that really makes it difficult to dig into, because on one side we have this idea that it's all abstract, it's all just ideas, it's all just a metaphor to describe things that are actually real. But on the other side, there's the metaphysical, whatever you want to call it. It is real. Just because we can't see it and we can't hear it doesn't mean that it's not real, doesn't mean it's not going on. You want to get into the scientific aspect of it, our eyes can only pick up like a tiny little bit of the light spectrum that's actually there. So there's all these other different lights, like frequencies of light that are going on, and we can only perceive like a tiny little fraction of that, and that's what we view as being our entire reality. So it would be silly of us to think that we're getting the whole picture from what we can see with our eyes and what we can hear with our ears. That's insane. So the monster is just as real as you and I. Just because you can't see the monster or hear the monster, well, you kind of can. In ways you can. We'll get into that later. But it doesn't mean that it's not real. But the only way that the monster can act is through people. So it's not like the monster is some paranormal divine force that can just stir the world, just magically. The only way the monster can act is through people, and so we tend to view these people that are acting as a vessel of the monster. Essentially, we view them as being evil people, or they do this evil shit, and we believe they're evil people. The bankers that run the world, the sick motherfuckers doing sick shit all over the planet. We don't really need to get into the details of all of that. I mean, I'm sure we will as the channel grows and we progress down through this, but the point is, it is very real, and the only way you're actually going to see the monster is through the actions that people have taken on behalf of the monster, if that makes sense. Okay? So now, next week, like I said, maybe we can't see or hear it, but we actually can hear the monster, because the monster is constantly in our fucking ear. It's always there, telling us what to do, trying to convince us, to sway us this certain way, okay? And its voice in your head sounds just like your voice. It's the same as your voice, so you can't tell the fucking difference between whether it's a thought you're having on your own or if it's a thought of the monster being seeded into your mind, okay? And another thing I want to emphasize again, I know I mentioned this before, but I really want to emphasize there is no outside of you angel and devil on your shoulder. It's not like there's you and then the angel here and the devil here. It's not like there's three separate entities. There's one entity, and it's you, and the monster is not you. That's how I see it. I see it as basically you are the angel on your shoulder, right? That's you, and the devil that's trying to convince you otherwise, that's the monster. But it is also a force that is inherently within all of us all the time. So it's something we can't really escape or avoid, but we can learn to crush it and subdue that voice and raise the volume up on our true inner voice. Okay? It's easy to get very abstract with these ideas, but as we dig in and I could show you more and more the real life examples in the world of what's going on with the monster and how she operates, okay? I call the monster a she. I will specify on that here in a second, okay? So, but you'll get to see how she operates in the world and how she's twisting things and tainting things on a very fundamental level. So you gotta think the monster wants to basically consume everything that it can. And so if it's only working with surface level ideas, it's not going to be able to consume a whole lot. So what the monster really wants to do is dig down deep to the most core, most fundamental ideas that exist and start to shift those and taint those in just in a tiny way, and break the foundation of everything that there is. So every idea that you can come up with off of that broken foundation is also going to be a broken idea in some way, shape, or form, because it's built on a broken foundation. So one of the main goals in the Defeat the Monster program is to eliminate those all the surface level bullshit that's going on that we get caught up in, and get down to those fundamental ideas. You know, we get so caught up with the toppings. This is how I like to think of it is, you know, you have the burger, that's the fundamental truth, the reality, and then we stack all these toppings on top of it, and then we get caught up arguing about the toppings and desiring these different toppings when we end up with no fucking burger. Like, you know, you don't want to eat a burger without a burger that's just toppings. That sucks. Also, a burger without any toppings sucks, but we can't focus on all the extra, on the stuff that really doesn't matter, until we boil it down and get down to the core of the fundamental truth and reality of what's going on. Okay? So, I don't want to get into too much of how the monster operates yet right now and the tools and tricks that she uses, but I will elaborate on why the monster is a she, okay? Because just like the yin and yang, they're the monster and, you know, God and the devil, as people like to think of it, which I also think is part of the attack. The whole idea of that is part of the monster's skewing of fundamental ideas and breaking things down, so that when we try to communicate with each other, our fundamental perception of what we're talking about is different, so it makes it difficult to actually communicate the truth of the reality of what's going on. So the truth is always going to be the same, no matter what, no matter who you get it from, no matter where you find it, it's always going to be the same. It'll always be there. You can't get rid of the truth. You know, we can hide it, we can bury it, we can throw dirt on it, but you can always still dig down and uncover the real truth, and it'll always be the same, and it'll always be there no matter what. Okay, so that's a key thing we need to keep in mind. If it's truth, it'll always be there, it'll always stay the same. If it's fluctuating and changing, then it's probably bullshit. So back to the idea of the yin and the yang, right? So there's the God and the devil idea, right? They're polar opposites. They are the same entity, but they are polar opposites of the same entity. So how in the world could they both be men? That fundamentally doesn't make sense, right? So God is this God idea, right? Is the masculine order, reason, right? This shit that we deem as good, right? And the devil is the opposite of this. It's the unreasonable, the fucking, I got a list here. All right, fragile, dependent, passive. So these feminine qualities of, you know, manipulation and shit like this they're inherently the duality of these concepts. Okay, so I had to splice this in right here because I was doing editing and I realized that I left out some key information here, okay? So I don't want it to come off like I feel like women are evil or women are like this problem in the world, like women are the devil, okay? That's not at all what I'm trying to say. So here I got a list of like masculine and feminine traits, okay? So the masculine traits are going to be like big, strong, hard, tough, independent, active, assertive, rebellious, dangerous, mature, rational, cerebral, insensitive, right? Practical, all these things that we, with the societal norm of these traits, we deem them as being like as good things, okay? Maybe not rebellious and dangerous, but when we look at the feminine traits on the other side, these tend to be deemed as negative traits. Now, I'm not saying that they necessarily are positive or negative traits, but just the way our societal standards have deemed these ideas, the feminine traits are typically deemed to be bad, right? So like small, weak, fragile, dependent, passive, vulnerable, immature, irrational, emotional, impractical, manipulative. So these are feminine traits that that embody that feminine energy. And typically in society, with the way that shit has been structured, the way the monster has led the attack, these things have been deemed to be negative. Now, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I feel like it's it depends on the situation. It depends on circumstances a lot more than just the hard good or bad, black and white. I think there's a lot of gray area in there. And it's also important to keep in mind that it's not like that because they're feminine traits that's a woman thing. Women act like that and men don't. And masculine traits, men act like that and women don't. That's also a false perception of the idea. Like, every man possesses a masculine and a feminine energy, just like every woman possesses a masculine and a feminine energy. We all have the same duality of those energies within us. It's not like only men embody those masculine traits and only women embody those feminine traits. So it doesn't really have anything to do with gender necessarily. It's just that the type of energy that comes through and what we tend to embody as a person. So that's where we come up with the idea of that, when we look at this duality of the entity of the source energy and the polarity of it, the opposites, we see the God as the masculine energy that is these traits that we see as being good things, and the female energy would be those traits that we tend to deem as being bad, and they're the duality, the opposite ends of the spectrum. So I'm not trying to say it like I hate women or the devil. What I am saying is that when we think of what is good and what is bad, the feminine traits are typically what we deem as being the bad things. So that's why I will refer to the monster as a she throughout the program. And this took me a long time to conclude. I started writing the book referring to the monster as a he, and it finally clicked for me that that's a perfect way for him to win the fight, for her to win the fight, excuse me. Because if you go into a battle looking for a dude to fight with, and you're actually fighting with a girl, you're probably going to lose the fight, because you're going to see the girl and you're going to say, hey, get out of the way, I'm looking for this guy to kick his ass. And then she sneaks up behind you and cuts your throat. That's how the monster operates. The monster doesn't want a face-to-face head-on battle. The monster wants you to fight with something else that doesn't matter, while she can come up and stab you in the back. That's what I got for you today. That's the best I can give you for what is the monster. Follow the channel. Stick with me. I'll show you more, the tools and tricks, the way that she manifests in the real world, in real life. And I promise this will all make more sense as we move forward. So join me, move forward with me. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, all that. I'll see you soon.